Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's Daf Yomi is Avodah Zarah Daf Daled. We begin right on top at the Mishnah with a list of forbidden items. Elu, the following, asurin, are forbidden. Not only that, va'isrin b'kolshu, should they get mixed with other things. So you have a barrel of non-kosher wine, of yain nesach, mixed with 1,000 barrels of kosher wine. All those barrels are now usur. We don't say, well, a single barrel in 1,000, batal. Follow the majority, the overwhelming majority. We don't say that. Why? The Gemara will explain for us. These things are more prominent, they have chashivas, they're distinct, they're sold by count, by number. They can't just become, batal, nullified in the, greater mix. Even one little bit, a drop. You have a statue mixed in with other statues, one of which is Avodah Zarah. The hides of the animals, which were involved in some sort of Avodah Zarah procedure. They would pull out the heart of the animal while it was alive, and they would worship like that. So those hides come from forbidden animals. V'shar haniskal, an animal killed a person, was now condemned to stoning. And that animal is asur bahano ve'egla rufa. So they discovered a victim on the road. Killer unknown. Closest city brings a calf, beheads it. That animal is off limits. V'tzipirei mitzera. Right? A fellow who had tsaras brings those birds that become asur bahano. V'seyar nazir. They hear that a nazir shears off his head. Rashi says the fact that the pasuk says take it and place it and burn it in the fire used to cook the shlamim of the nazir indicates to us that the hair itself is not meant to be used. It's asur bahano. Upeter chamoir. You have a firstborn donkey. So unless they do the switch, the swap, give the kayan the sheep, otherwise the animal is asur. Basar b'chala. We have a mix of milk and meat. So that piece of meat which has the milk embedded within it is asur bahano. V'sar mishtaleach. The goat that they on Yom Kippur they throw off the mount. V'chulin, a regular animal, shenishchatu ba'azara, which was slaughtered in the azara. All these hareilu asur, they're forbidden to eat, to drink, to have benefit from. V'oisrin b'chalashu, and they would now negatively affect any items that they were mixed into. So even if it's 1 in 1,000, the whole mix is now asur. Asks the Gemara, what's unique about these items? Tana, our Mishnah, my kachashiv. What's the underlying criterion that ties all these items together? Are these items in the Mishnah unique in a sense that they are davar sheva minyan? It's typically counted. It's sold by count. Each individual has his own, distinct identity. Unlike, a bag of apples. It's just a bag of apples. Each apple individually doesn't have its own identity. But a barrel of wine, a statue, a davar sheva minyan. So is that the reason why it's not batal? It can't just become obsolete, nullified, and dissolved, and diffused in this greater bunch. Is that why it's not batal? Of course, by the way, these are only halachas midrabanan. Midrabanan, things which are distinct, don't allow for nullification. So it's a chumrah derabanan. Again, is the point because of davar sheva minyan? Kachashav, that's what he's counting? And then I have another candidate for the list. Other item that could be added, listing nami, chatichas nevela. Why don't we list chunks of a dead animal as well, sold by count, by part? And there's no bittul because of that. So why was that omitted? Perhaps the common denominator, the underlying criterion here is not because it's something which is counted. Rather, what's common to all those items in the Mishnah? No. These things cannot be benefited from at all. So it has the added element, the added severity and that's why we don't allow it to be batal, well, then I have another potential item for the list. Listening nami, why don't we mention as well, chametz b'Pesach. Chametz on Pesach is also asur b'hano. So you have a slice of bread on Pesach, although it's nothing distinct and unique about it, it's not davar shebeminyan, but the Isra Hana aspect of it should withhold the bittul. Amar Rab Chia bar Abba, v'itei mesamsei Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. Let me explain to you what's going on. Let me explain to you what features are required to earn, a place on this list. Hi Tana, our Tana, our Mishnah, Tarti Isli. In order to prevent bittul, he requires two conditions, two elements of uniqueness, of distinctness. Number one, davar shebeminyan. It's an item which is typically counted, sold by count. And number two, v'isur hano. It has to be something which is asur b'hano as well. So Rashi says it has tarti l'chashivusa, two elements of prominence, which makes the isur chashiv. So on account of its, physical presentation, physical property, davar shebeminyan, and also on account of its spiritual weight, so to speak. The isur is a heavier isur, is asur b'hano. So in both, they both coincide, then there's no bittul, as opposed to a slice of bread on Pesach, although it has the second element, it's asur b'hano, but it lacks the first element, it's not davar shebeminyan. On the other hand, the chunk of the nevela, it's a davar shebeminyan, but it's not asur b'hano. Hence, they're not on the list. Asks the Gemara, but we have others that do fit, this profile. What about the walnuts sold in perech? Nice, big, prominent. Pomegranates from Badan, which feature both elements. The davar shebeminyan, they're sold by count. And they're asur b'hano if in fact they're like arla or whatever. So why not mention those? The answer is, we already did. In Meseches Arla. Ha'tana le'hasam, they're discussed over there. Haroy le'arla arla. Mishnah discusses different items that are not going to be batal. Amongst them we have the egoizei perech, rimayle badan. Mishnah concludes, those of which that can potentially be arla, like the fruits, the nuts, arla. And they belong on the arla list. Haroy le'kalei kerem, those that are fit for kalei kerem, that potentially can have the kalei kerem because they were grown together with grapes in the vineyard, kalei kerem. So in fact they belong on that list. So basically we've covered those items as well. What about another item? Homemade breads, loaves. If it so happens that it's on Pesach, so you have the Isra Hana, and the fact that it's a distinct homemade bread is davar shebeminyan. The answer is you're right. Man shamas da amar le, and there's a girsa chametz b'Pesach. Da amar chametz b'Pesach. Also, who's the author of this opinion? Who's the shita that chametz on Pesach, aside from off limits in terms of consumption, you can't have hana? That's Rabbi Kiva. Well, guess what? Rabbi Kiva already mentioned loaves of bread in that Mishnah in Meseches Arla. So you're right. Hatan lihasam. It's mentioned over there. Rabbi Kiva Maisif. He adds to the list, ha'af kikrish shbalabayis, homemade loaves. So you're right. Harei, Mishnah concludes, all these are oiser b'kol shehu. So even one of them mixed into many, make the whole bunch asr. When we say harei, typically it's an exemption, only these. So it's limited to only those on the list. Limutei mai as opposed to what? Well, if you don't have both features, right? You need to have both conditions. Limutei, to exclude on the one hand, if you have davar shebeminyan, but it's not v'lav isur hano. Inami, alternatively, limutei isur hano, if something is asur b'hano, but it lacks the distinctness. Davar shebeminyan doesn't have the same effect. Says the Mishnah, yayin nesach shenafal habar. So some non-kosher wine lands into a container, a pit full of kosher wine. Kuloi asur b'hano, everything is asur b'hano, because yayin nesach is asur even kosher. So you can't have anything from it. You can't even sell you can't do anything. Shemulei Laimer, It's true you can't drink it, and you can't have direct benefit from this mix, but you can still sell the entire mix. You sell the entire thing to a guy and don't charge for the ounce of yain nesach somewhere within this mix. So you're not really having enough from the yain nesach. But it doesn't make the whole thing inherently asur b'hano. It's only because of the yain nesach mixed somewhere in the mix. Fine. So sell it chutz, aside, deduct for midmei yain nesach shbay, for the ounce of yain nesach. Amarav. Halacha, in fact, is Kabshim Gamliel, that you could sell the entire mix if you discount for the yain nesach. Chavis b'chavis. That's only when it's a barrel within barrels. So one is yain nesach, the other was a kosher. You can sell the whole 100-barrel shipment and just deduct for the yain nesach, because it's not really inherently mixed with each other. But we don't paskin like this shita when it's actually a dilution, a real mix of liquids. Then the whole thing attains the status of yain nesach, and you can't even sell it, even if you'll deduct for the yain nesach. The whole thing is treated like yain nesach. That's Rab's opinion. Shmuel Amar says no. Afilu, we paskin like Shmuel Gamliel, that we allow selling with the deduction. Afilu if it's wine within wine, yain b'yain. V'chein Amar Rabba Reb Yochanan, afilu yain b'yain. Likewise, he held that you can sell it, even if it's a mix of wine. V'chein, and likewise, Rabbi Shmuel Rav Nasan, Rav Chanina, he quotes Rav Chanina to say, afilu yain b'yain, even there it's allowed. V'chein, and likewise, Rav Nachman, Rav Vua, afilu yain b'yain. Amar Rav Nachman, so Rav Nachman concludes, halacha l'maaseh. So, this is, for actual practice, not just, in terms of theoretics and, academics, actual halacha l'maaseh is that some learn that it means that he actually had a story, that he was actually, Rashi says, halacha l'maaseh means l'horis halam. No, he was telling them, look, you can actually carry out halacha l'maaseh as follows. Yain a nesach. So it depends. So in terms of this discussion, it all depends. If it's real yain nesach, so legitimate yain nesach, yain that was served to an idol, which is asur min ha-Torah b'hano, then we're more strict. So if there's a mix, if it's actual wine within wine, yain b'yain, asur, then we don't allow for its leniency. The whole thing is asur, back off, can't have anything to do with it. But if it's chavis b'chavis, a barrel mixed with other barrels, mutter, then you can go ahead and sell the entire supply and just, deduct for that barrel. However, if it's stam yayin or yainan, if it's just goyish wine, stam yayin, so although with the rabbanon, we treat it like yayin nesach, but it doesn't have the same severity as yayin nesach. We're asur to drink it because it can lead to yain nesach, because they're concerned that perhaps he would have, but as long as it wasn't a confirmed yain nesach, afilu yain b'yain mutter, in this case, even if it's the wine mixed with other wine, so it's one unit of liquid, it's mutter, which means to say you can't have direct hana from it, but you can sell the entire unit of liquid and get paid as long as you deduct for the ounce of forbidden wine mixed within it. Okay, so in summation, we had first Mishnah. There's a taroivus between Isser and Heter. So according to this Mishnah, if the Isser has two conditions, Davar Sheba Minyan and also Isser Ano, it's not going to be bottled, irrespective of how many items are involved. Regarding a mix of yain nesach with kosher wine, which is now asur b'hano, according to Tanakama, that's it. You got to back off. Can't even sell it. According to Shimon Gamliel, can sell it as long as you deduct the yain nesach component within the mix. According to Rav Nachman's conclusion, if it's real yain nesach, that's only allowed if it's barrel to barrel. But if it's wine within wine, you can't do anything. By stam yainam, even the yain v'yain, we pass on Shimon Gamliel, sell it and just deduct. Says the Mishnah, gas shel even. Gas is the wine press, the pool where they crush the grapes. So it could be made of either stone, which is less absorbent or not absorbent at all, versus wood, versus cheres, clay, which is highly absorbent. So assuming the guy hadn't used it, it's a new facility. So what's the issue? Gas shel Evan, a gas made of stone, shezifsa, oivet gecham. Thing is that the guy poured zephes. Zephes is tar. This like sort of waterproofing, coating over the gas. And Rashi explains it was urcha l'mirmi by chamra. It was customary to pour some wine over this tar while it was being applied. Lavure kutra de zifsa, to remove, to neutralize the harshness, the smell, the bitterness of the zephes. So there was a small amount of wine involved in the process. The wine is presumed to be non-kosher, right? What do we do? Can we use the facility for kosher wine? Says the Mishnah, menagva. Do niguv. Rashi says, mefarish b'gemara b'mayim ve'efer, a proper cleansing job, not just a rinse. Menagva means with detergent, with afer, with ash. The ashes have that caustic property to them. They serve as a detergent, which would ensure that the wine embedded within this zephes was extracted and cleansed. So menagva v'tayr, now you can use it for kosher wine. What if it's made of wood? V'shal eitz, if it's a wine press made of wood. That poses a greater concern. Still, Rabbi Eimer, Rabbi says niguv is enough, just like the previous one. V'chacham Eimer, they disagree. They say in this case, since it's made of wood, that requires a thicker layer of zephes with more wine, with more problematic, elements. So the only solution is remove the tar. Yiklefes zephes, peel it off. V'shel cheres. What if it's made of cheres? That's really trouble because the cheres itself is highly absorbent. So in this case, even if you remove peeled off the tar, that's not a full solution because the cheres itself beneath the tar is beileya, it absorbs. Asura, you can't use it. Hamaravas dafka zipsa. The Mishnah says you need niguv, which means to say a proper cleansing process with detergent. That's only when it was zipsa, when it was coated with the wine-tainted zephes coating. But if it was merely an uncoated facility, which the guy used for crushing of grapes, that's not an issue, right? And we're talking about the stone one, because then you just give it a nice rinse and you're done. Says the Gemara Pshita, well, obviously, zipsatnan, the Mishnah clearly says it's only concerned when there's that coating. Apparently, without it, it's not a problem. What's Rava's point? Perhaps I would think, the same method would apply even if it was not coated. Rather, it was just used for crushing of grapes. It needs to be properly cleansed. Zips, and the reason why the Mishnah refers to the zephes, that's typically what triggers the problem. Typically, there's an issue of wine in the zephes, but perhaps using that equipment for crushing of non-kosher grape would be a problem on its own. Kamashman, that's the point of Rav. No. It was merely used without the zephes element, and just give it a rinse, proper rinse. But it's only because of the zephes that we have to do the niguv process, the more advanced cleansing process. Ikadamri, there was a different version of Rava. Rava, davka zips. When the Mishnah speaks about the stone equipment coated with zephes, requiring the niguv, and the niguv is sufficient, that's only because it was just merely coated. It was never actually used for non-kosher material. Avodah Zarah, but if the guy actually crushed his grapes in there, that pushes the wine residue deeper into the equipment. In that case, l'isagala b'niguv. Niguv is not sufficient. You can't just wash it off. You have to peel the tar off and then properly wash. Pshita, well, obviously, Zof Sitnan, the Mishnah speaks about the equipment that was merely coated. Apparently, that it was just coated, not used. Because if it was actually used, it would require a more comprehensive solution. So what's Rava's chiddush? Well, Maldatim, perhaps I would think, huadin. The same niguv system, the afilu nagaba would apply, would solve even if the equipment had been used. The reason why the Mishnah merely describes it as being coated and no mention of being used, because that's it's customary that they insert wine while they in that tar, and that's why the Mishnah referred to that aspect. But certainly was speaking that it was used as well, and perhaps even then niguv is enough. Kamashman, the point of Rav is to point out no, da'avka zipsa, niguv is sufficient only to address the zefes Avodah Zarah. So only if it was coated, merely coated, not used, but if it was actually used, niguv is not sufficient. Okay, so according to the first lashna of Rava, if it was not coated with zefes, it was merely used on the bare stone, just a nice rinse would be enough. On the other hand, coated with zefes plus used, and then there's no solution other than removing the zefes and giving it a good clean. Why? The point is because we're concerned about pockets of wine within that tar. As per the following story, Kiyahu, as per the fellow, the asal commander of Bchia, approached Bchia for some help. Amarle says, Havli Gavra, could you please send me a person that can help me kasher my equipment, the dachi limatzar toi, to cleanse and to kasher my wine press that was used for non-kosher wine. Amarle l'Rav, Sir Bchia turned to Rav, who was his nephew. Zilbadei, please go along with him and see what you can do to help him. V'chazi, now be careful, make sure. Whatever you do, make sure it's an effective solution. I don't want any complaints. Make sure nobody comes back to me. They don't come yelling at me in the Beis HaMedrash for ruining their livelihood. Make sure you do a proper koshering so that the wine that's produced in this facility is kosher l'mahadrin. Okay, also Rav accompanied this fellow to the wine press, and he noticed the wine press was very smooth. The coating was nice and beautiful and smooth. So he figured, okay, Amar Havada beniguv sagila. In this case, certainly niguv is enough. Just give it a nice, niguv. As he was, walking along and taking closer notice, he sees these cracks underneath the. He noticed that the stone is also cracked. He sees it's full of wine. Apparently, the wine permeated the coating and is now inside the. Amar, he says, in this case, because it was used to crush grapes, so the wine had already, permeated the coating and it's inside. Niguv is not enough in this case. Ela b'kiluf, you have to do kiluf. Remove the coating and properly clean it. Oh, now I understand what my uncle was warning me. Vainu the Amar li Chavivi. Now I understand why my uncle had forewarned me. He called him Chavivi, beloved one. And he told me, be careful, whatever you do, make sure it's a proper job. I don't want any complaints. Chazi. Take a look, make sure you don't cause people to come yell at me in the Beis HaMedrash. So clearly, when it was actually used, aside from being coated with problematic zefes, they crushed the grapes in there. That requires a more comprehensive plan. Niguv is not enough. Rather, you have to do kiluf and then clean it, which fits well with Rava, who told us the same just a minute ago. Tana Rabban, we have a bryce. Hagas. Okay, so this is the wine press. V'amachatz. Machatz is a kli, like a ladle they used to draw the wine from the bur and ladle it into the barrel. V'amashpech, or a funnel, it's called a mashpech, like a lashon of shvicha. They pour through it, right? And Rashi says these were made of cheres, of clay, very highly absorbent. Shaloi dekichav, used by goyim for non-kosher wine. What's their status? Rabbi Matir benigub. Rabbi says nigub is enough. In a minute we're going to ask, what do you mean? It's cheres. In the Mishnah we learned cheres to its high absorbency, there's no solution for cheres. We'll get to that in a minute. But at this point, Rebbe says nigov is enough. Chamim Eisrin, they say no, you can't use it. There's no solution for these items. With merely nigov, there's another system of filling them with water 3 days in a row, as we saw back in the Nafal Megimel, but nigov is not enough. Umoide Rebbe. Now, even Rebbe would agree in the following case. Bekankanim, you have these bottles, these containers, these pitchers, used by goyim for non-kosher wine, shein asur. In this case, nigov is not enough. What's the difference between these and those? What's the difference between these and those? The answer is zeh machnisi likiyah. These bottles are meant for long-term storage, in which case they really absorb much wine, and very hard to extract that wine and to cleanse them. So they're asur. But the aforementioned items, the gas, the machas, they're used for short-term, quick uses. It's not meant for storage, in which case it absorbs less, and a nigov is enough. Brisa continues. So this was if it's cheres. What about v'shal eitz? Equipment made of wood, v'shal even of stone. Yinagib, just do nigov. That's because it has no layer of zephes. So a proper cleansing job is enough. But if they were mizufafen, layered with the zephes, which has the wine in it, asurin in this case, you need to do kiluf. You have to remove the zephes. Ask the Gemara. Why? But by a stone, a piece of equipment, even with a zephes, the Mishnah tells us, right? That's the first item in the Mishnah. It's made of stone. Even if it has the zephes over it, just do nigov atanan. In the Mishnah we learn gas shal even shezofsa evid kacham managu v'tayre, right? The stone equipment, which has the zephes with its wine element, just do nigov to extract the wine. V'tayre, it's okay for use. And here we say you have to do more than that. Answers the Gemara once again the difference. What was it used for crushing of non-kosher material or not? Masnis in our Mishnah, which suffices with nigov. He hadn't crushed in it. So nigov is enough. Bryce at the darachba, whereas the Bryce, which says you have to remove the zephes, we're speaking that it was used for non-kosher wine. The darachba, he trampled, he crushed within that equipment. So now it's embedded deep within the walls. Removal is required. Again, this is in line with Rava, with the story, right? Amamar. Once again, let's go back to this brisa and address the first part of the brisa, discussing cheres items, where it seems there's a solution. In contrast to our Mishnah, which seems to say it's done deal, you can't use it. Amamar hagas v'amachas made of cheres, Rebbe matir benigov. Nigov is enough. V'chachamim oisrin. They say no, nigov is not enough. You can't use it. How could Rebbe allow with nigov anan tanan? And now Mishnah we learned shal cheres, made of cheres, highly absorbent. Avar b'shakol of the zefes. Harjasur, even removing the zefes doesn't solve the issue. Hamar Rava. It's a machlekes tanaim. You're quoting a Mishnah. Well, that's the Rabbanan, homo strict, who push everything up one notch higher than Rebbe. Seva the masnis nason Rabbanan. The last part of the Mishnah. The cheres is always us. That's the Rabbanan speaking. So according to Rabbanan, we're more strict than Rebbe. So Rabbanan hold like this. If it's made of stone, nigov is enough. A wooden piece of equipment, kiluf. You have to remove the zephes coating. Okay, so again, if we have zephes coated equipment, stone equipment, nigov. Wooden equipment, kiluf. Cheres, done deal, asr. According to Rebbe, we drop it down a notch. Zephes coated material, if it's even or eitz, nigov is enough. If it's cheres, just remove the coating, and you can use the equipment. And again, that's only because it's a fresh piece of equipment. But if it was darachpa, was actually used for non-kosher material, so that residue has now permeated the walls. In this case, all would agree that the only way out is to remove the zephes. So if it's stone or wood, according to Rebbe, even the cheres, removal of the zefes would be required. And again, if it was only used for crushing, there was no zefes issue, just used on the plain bare, equipment. In that case, as we learned from Rava, if it's a Jewish, Jewish equipment, then a quick rinse is enough. You don't even need niguv. Taisus points out that if it was equipment owned by a guy, then we're more machmer, then you have to do a niguv. But otherwise, hadacha, just a rinse, a good power wash is enough. Okay, so just summarize things. In some cases, just a rinse with water is enough. Hadacha, equipment that was merely used, dorachpa, for non-kosher material. There's no zefes, right? And just hadacha is enough. If it was coated with problematic zefes, so then we have those two shittas, Rebbe and the Rabbanon. According to Rebbe, if it's stone or wood, niguv is enough. Cheres, yikleif, to remove the coating. With the Chachamim, we push it up a notch. So if it's wood, yikleif. It's cheres, it remains asr. All agree, if the equipment was coated plus it had been used for non-kosher material, removal of the zefes is certainly required. Says the Gemara, Darash Rava, so Rava taught, he announced, Na'ava is another word for a gas, for a wine press. So if it was coated with zefes and it was actually used in production of non-kosher material, so if you want to use it right away, in this case, you can actually bypass the requirement to remove the zefes if you cook it up, if you kosher it. Artichu. Right? So boil it up and kosher it. Put it into boiling water, etc., so that, or pour boiling water on it. This way, you accomplish the same result. Rava, when he would send his new, empty barrels, empty containers, which was meant for wine storage, but they were empty, without wine. He would send it with a guy to deliver them. Kiyava Mishada, when he would send gulfi, Rashi says, Kadem Rekim, empty pitchers, empty, containers, La Harpanya, to this place Harpanya, with a guy, he would double seal them to ensure that the guy doesn't use them for wine. Sachav Lu Apumai, he would overturn them on their mouth, so upside down. And then he would put them, in the sack. When he would seal the sack, abir tzayu, over their bottom. So basically, you have a sack, a tied sack. Within it, you have the overturned container. So that presents a double barrier, so to speak. Makes it, doubly difficult for the guy to access. He's got to open the sack and, forge the seal, right? He's got to, and has to overturn them. It makes it more difficult, places a double deterrent. Rashi says it's called choisem b'soy choisem, a seal within a seal. And then he would send it like that. Because he figured, he held, any container which is meant for long-term storage of non-kosher material, I feel if you show, even if you give it to God for a short time. Gazu, Rabban were geyser, that there's a concern. You have to be concerned. The guy may have used it for wine. And they gave it the same status as the wine because it's meant for long-term storage of wine. Right? So therefore you have to ensure there's no tampering. You have to double seal it, just like it would be wine. She says that he doesn't come to leave it by the guy who will use it for his wine storage. But if it's double sealed, then it's safe and sound. Okay, let's recap today's three sugyas. Things which are asr b'hanoah and davar shebaminyan are not bottled at all. If yain nesach mix them with kosher wine, we pass them like Rav Shimon Gamliel that you can sell it as long as he deducts for the non-kosher wine. But if it's real yain nesach, that would only apply to barrels and barrel, but not wine mixing with other wine. Where it's tam yenon, even yain b'yain can be sold minus the yain nesach. We discussed how to cleanse, how to kasher equipment that contains traces of yain nesach, and it all depends on the type of equipment, type of material, stone, wood, cheres, whether or not it's coated, whether or not it was used for crushing a non-kosher material. And we concluded the halacha of chosam to chosam to protect wine containers. All the best to you, and atzlacha.